Hello and thank you for watching another one of my videos. Today we will be replacing the front wheel bearing on a C6 Corvette. So the first thing we're going to do is take our 19 millimeter socket and we're going to break free all of the lugs on our front wheel. Next we're going to take our jack and we're going to put it under the car. I have jacking pucks in the little holes under the car so I can jack my car up. It wouldn't be a bad idea for you to go ahead and purchase a set of jacking pucks, but by all means, a small block of wood, like a 6-inch square piece of 2x4 or 2x6 on top of your jack, will do just fine and protect the car. So we're going to continue removing our lug nuts and take the wheel off the front of the car. Now we're going to take our 21 millimeter socket and we're going to take off the caliper. There's two ways. There's a 15 millimeter to remove the caliper from the bracket, but we're going to remove the bracket from the hub. So we're going to use the 21 millimeter and we're going to take the big bolts off the hub, and we're going to take the hub and just lay it down under the car. So with those bolts off, we want to wiggle that caliper a little bit to spread the brake pads so it'll be easier to slide back on the rotor later. And then we'll pull our front disc off and just set it off to the side. So now we're going to remove our ABS connection. So this is for your ABS braking system and your active traction control. So we're going to stick that out of the way, and now we're going to remove the cotter key that holds your tie rod on. See how easy that was? There's no need to bend up the cotter key in 15 different ways. And it's not a bad idea to replace the cotter key every time that you remove one. So with a 19 millimeter wrench, we're going to take off our tie rod end nut. Clearly, I should have cut that out as I was searching for a 19 millimeter wrench. The 18 I had laying in the car just didn't do it. But we're not going to take this nut off all the way because we have to get this tie rod off. So we're going to leave the nut on some of the threads, and we're going to get a brass hammer. Don't go beating on your car with the steel hammer. We're going to use a brass one, or you can use a rubber dead blow hammer. But remember, your car is plastic and aluminum, so the last thing you want to do is get a steel ball peen hammer and start banging all over your car. So with the tie rod out of the way, now we can move our hub freely, and up top we're going to take an 18 millimeter wrench and we're going to break loose this ball joint at the top and the one at the bottom. Your ball joint probably won't spin while you're removing the nut, but when you're putting it back on, it is going to spin. The top's going to take a 3 millimeter Allen. The bottom will take a 5 millimeter Allen, and it goes right inside the bolt that comes out of the ball joint. So now we just loosen the 22 millimeter at the bottom. So we're not going to remove this nut all the way because we're going to leave it on the thread so we can beat on it a little bit. Now with our dead blow hammer, we're going to beat on that upper A-arm and then we'll finish removing our nut. Once that nut's removed, then we can lower the jack. And beat on that lower nut. And you can hear when it comes free because it's going to be a completely different thug once that lower ball joint comes free. Then we just remove it. So now we're going to jump into the garage. We're going to put our hub in a vise and we're going to break these Torx bolts free.
Oh, shit.
Now these bolts were put on at the factory with red Loctite, and we're going to replace that red Loctite. Make sure you get your bracket that holds your active handling cable out of the way, and then that's your old bearing. Here's your new bearing. This bearing was like $90 from Advance Auto. I like doing Moog, but this was the only one within 60 miles of my house that was available, and I need the bearing now. I can buy 2 of these for what one Moog costs. As you can see, they're both pretty much the same. They're probably made out in the same factory, just a different name stamped on it. So I'm applying my red Loctite. Don't be afraid to put a lot of this Loctite on. You don't want these bolts coming out. I doubt they ever will, but you never know. There's a reason why the factory put the red Loctite on and had these bolts so tight in the first place. And if all goes well, this bearing is going to outlast the time of ownership of your car, and too much red Loctite will be the next owner's worry, not yours. Again, a generous helping of red Loctite. This will be the 3rd wheel bearing that I've changed on my 2007. I'm at the 150,000 mile mark right now. I think this car is 151,000, And between 148,000 and 151,000, I've been having a lot of little gremlins pop up. So every week it seems like it's another project that I have to do. Um, on this particular car, I just replaced the brakes, the rotors, the pads, new wheels, new tires yesterday. And as I was taking my wife out to dinner and trying out the new tires, she said that there was still a rolling vibration on her side of the car. Well, I couldn't feel it on the driver's side, and I couldn't feel it in the steering wheel. And I couldn't hear, normally you can hear a bearing that's bad. I couldn't hear it, but I just took a guess that the bearing on her side of the car was going bad. And it just so has it that my local Advanced Auto Parts had one of these bearings in stock. So I went down there and I bought it and replaced it on the passenger side. And now she doesn't complain about the rolling vibration. So it did fix the problem she had been complaining about. She said it had been going on for years, but just didn't tell me. Anyway, so take your torque wrench and torque down these bolts once you've got them in. I am not going to tell you the torque specifications. I rarely will tell you torque specifications in any of my videos. It is your job to find out what the exact torque specifications for your vehicle is. My 2007 Corvette might be different from your Corvette. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to finger tighten these bolts that hold the hub onto the A-arms. And the 18 goes up top, the 22 goes down at the bottom. And then again, like I said earlier, for the top, you're going to need a 3mm hex wrench, Allen wrench, to put inside the bolt. And that'll hold the bolt steady while you tighten the 18mm nut. I personally don't torque down these nuts. They are lock nuts. And I'm sure that GM has a torque specification in the manual that I'm not wasting my time to look up. I'm going to tighten these down as tight as I possibly can get it with this wrench. I'm going to guess with this wrench in my bare hands, I can probably get it over 100 foot-pounds, which should be more than enough. Now we're going to a 4mm hex for the bottom bolt on this 22mm nut. I do have to give huge props to GM for thinking ahead and putting that hex head, that hex hole in the top of the bolt, so we can hold that free while we're tightening down this nut. Otherwise, it would really be a pain in the butt. And once you get these nuts pretty much tightened down where that ball joint is seated in the hub, it locks it in place. So you can tighten it down without having that Allen wrench in there. So we're now going to put our active handling wire back into the bracket and clip it back into place. If I'd have been thinking, I would have taken that freaking Made in Mexico tag off of there. And we're going to line our tie rod end up and push it into the arm, put our washer, put our nut, take our 19 millimeter wrench. We're going to tighten this one down too. I'm sure there's a torque specification on this, but I guarantee if you use their torque specifications that one of those wells on the nut isn't going to meet up with the hole in the tie rod. So just get it tight to where it lines up so you can get that cotter key through, bend the cotter key over, and you're done with that part of it. And we're going to slide our brake rotor back on. And then we got to wiggle and jiggle and shimmy and shake our caliper and slide it onto the rotor, and then take our caliper bolts and put them through the hub and screw them into the caliper. This video is right about 20 minutes long. If you're a halfway decent mechanical type, you should be able to complete this entire project in about a half hour. You can see that, I pretty much didn't rush through it. I just took my time, pay attention to what you're doing, and a half hour, if you're going to replace all four, I'd give myself probably about 3 hours to do the entire job, because one of the corners of the car is going to give you a lot of issues. This one wasn't that bad. I'm going to watch the local Advance Auto website, and as soon as they have another hub in stock, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace the driver's side also. For $100 to have a decent working wheel bearing, I don't think that's too much money. And because I didn't buy the Moog, I have enough money left over that if this wheel bearing ever does decide to go again, I have that savings from buying the generic one that I can just go out and buy another generic one. And with everything buttoned up, I'm going to go ahead and put my new wheels on. Yes, those are black C7 Z51 wheels. I think they look amazing on my my blue C6. I really like them. And they were cheap too. I used the Michelin's. I seem to be able to get one Michelin front to 2 Michelin rears on this car. So I just put brand new rear tires on, and I'm just reusing the front. Saves me a few $100, $700 to be exact. And then we tighten these down. Again, I'm not giving you torque specifications, but I know if I put a torque wrench on this, because I've tried it, each one of these is torqued just over 100 foot-pounds. So thanks for watching my video. I hope it was informative for you. Send me any questions if you need any help. I'm here for you. Thank you and good day.